In this lecture, we would like to discuss one of the most important legal and political concepts, that is individualism. So, the very development of individualism could be traced to French Physiocrats. So, it essentially developed as an economic doctrine to assist in the expansion of capitalism. So ultimately, individualism developed into a creed of socio political values. The French physiocrats who worked out their ideas in the 18th century may be considered to be the pioneers in economic individualism. The physiocrats, the physiocrats developed economic individualism or laissez-faire, which they developed against the mercantilist measures of state control of industry and commerce. They opposed intervention in the sphere of industry, as industry was not the source of wealth. In the writings of Adam Smith, who the celebrated English economist started developing the very idea of laissez-faire, and he was a strong champion of the cause of laissez-faire. But the very creed of individualism had to wait time till in the 19th century, as it was developed into a socio-political theory by John Stuart Mill and Herbert Spencer, and as they derived the very ideas from the Benthamite doctrine of utilitarianism. So, as regarding John Stuart Mill, he divided the human actions as self-regarding activities and other regarding activities. So, while developing the very idea of individualism, Herbert Spencer developed the law of organic evolution and the survival of the fittest, and that particular development of individualism by Mill and Spencer were carried out in the modern time by Graham Wallace and Norman Angel, as Graham Wallace expressed that to reconcile Fabianism with occupationalism, and as it would work in new institutional frame of professional groups, and in the same way normal angel expresses the very idea of individualism in community of economic interest and in international class conflicts. So he developed the heterogeneous genius society, which intolerance of political dissent and the very curtailment of individual liberty and expansion of state activities. These are being the very ideas of the individualism. So, Professor John Stuart Mill expressed that the very distinction between self-regarding and other-regarding activities. So, as regarding this, Mill expressed that if all mankind minus one were of one opinion, mankind would be no more justified in silencing that one person than he, if he had the power, would be justified in silencing mankind. Mill defends not only the freedom of thought but also freedom of conduct. He advocates complete freedom of the individual in the sphere which does not concern the community, and to this he considers it as self-regarding and other-regarding activities. The community is justified in restricting only that activity of the individual which has social consequences. Mill thus makes a distinction between self-regarding and other-regarding activities. Freedom of thought and freedom of conduct are the basic elements of human happiness and the sure conditions for advancement of mankind. So also on Mill, Professor Barker made his observation that Mill was a transitional thinker full of contradictions. He advocated free conduct for the individual, and at the same time, he recognized the utility of some modest form of state regulation. And as regarding Herbert Spencer, who developed the theory of individualism on the very basis of result of natural science, the law of organic evolution, as developed by Herbert Spencer, reveals the eternal struggle for existence through which men best fitted to grapple successfully with the surrounding survive and the unfit are eliminated. Any effort by the government to regulate this process of natural selection is an attempt to modify nature, which is undesirable. The final objective of government is to accommodate nature and not to alter it. Spencer thus supports the policy of non-intervention. Spencer's doctrine of individualism suffers from some defects, as far the first one from logical inconsistency. His premise that society's complex cannot be reconciled with the conclusion that government must not interfere regulate. State regulation is supremely necessary to maintain equilibrium and social cohesion. And regarding his proposition to all forms of charity and help to education by the government is a reversion to the ethics of barbarism. Human society has developed to a state where mutual help and cooperation form its ruling principle. Ethics of cooperation and not the savage ethics of permanent conflict is the code of the highest form of human organization. As also Spencer laid emphasis on the very principle that he advocated, the very principle of survival of the fittest. And that very principle he advocated, it helped to disfigure individualism itself and to ultimately fight and now a many a camp follower of this doctrine. So, towards the close of the 19th century, individualism was being slowly but steadily abandoned in favor of increasing state control. It declined primarily because of its inadequacy, inadequacy to meet the challenge of problems created by unchecked industrial capitalism, unplanned production, leading to frequent fluctuations in income and employment, exploitation of the teeming millions, and mass poverty generated a wave of social tension. These problems required state regulation of the process of industry and commerce. Moreover, the development of refined liberal grid values of the ethical personality of the individual. So, in an answer to this form of individualism, modern individualism developed thus represents the essential quality of modern society, its functional diversification. So, in the hand of Graham Wallace and Normal Angel, it developed into a grid. So, as Graham Wallace expressed that the new insight to tackle the problem of setting up a new institutional pattern with a view to offsetting the operation of irrational forces in politics. So, territorial representation alone breeds manipulation in politics. Occupational and functional representation alone leads to professional exclusiveness and narrowness. So, Graham Wallace seeks to reconcile Fabianism with occupationalism. The composition of lower house of the legislature will based on territorial representation as is found today, and the structure of the second chamber will be built on the basis of group representation. Graham Walls, Wallace in addition suggests the creation of special bodies having a majority of elected members, disciplined and mellowed by a minority appointed by the professional groups for the regulation and management of the undertakings, whether educational or economic. This new institutional frame, as Graham Wallace thinks, will act as the counterweight against the despotism of the uncontrolled majority acting through state apparatus. So, Norman Angel, another great exponent of modern individualism, presented his political theory, which is based on an eloquent protest against the overgrown state of today. So, like Graham Wallace, he also discovered the irrationalism of mob mind in politics. Modern state is a geographical and administrative unit, but as Angel argues, this is an artificial arrangement. The state is a heterogeneous concept embodying cross sections of economic interest. The diversity of economic interest leads to the emergence of varied conceptions of life. A conception of life, Norman Angel argues, is primarily class oriented, and this real bond of unity among men is the community of economic interest, and this transcends the geographical and administrative divisions. So the very plan of normal Angel's theory is clear. He advocates the replacement of patriotic wars between nations by class conflicts between international parties. So, also, international conflicts, man's real need will become articulate, and he will translate the national front as to develop an international mind. The very plea of normal angel is for international wars between social classes involves a grave danger, especially in a nuclear age of ours. It would mean total annihilation of mankind. Contrarily, the scheme of the Guild Socialists for the reorganization of the contemporary society on functional basis seems to be more sound. It provides for the institutional expression of the genuine self of man while avoiding the pitfall of international war as implied in Norman Angel's doctrine. So, the very growth of modern individualism in the hand of Norman Angel is rest as he consider human society as heterogeneous and the intolerance of political dissent and gradually the root curtailment of individual liberty and expansion of state activities show the very observation of an investigation and the real personality for the group and state as a coordinating agency would guarantee the very prospects of individualism. And now we'll discuss the very strength of individualism. So, as regarding the very strength, in short, we could explain that individualism is an ideal apparatus in curtailing state action or restricting state regulation, and it emphasized on the very process of natural selection as propounded by Herbert Spencer in his law of organic evolution and survival of the fittest. And they also emphasized on free competition, as we found from the very beginning. The French Physiocrats laid emphasis on economic individualism or laissez-faire, and which was propagated as a permanent creed in the hand of English economist and philosopher Adam Smith, and who derived much from the Benthamite doctrine of utilitarianism. And also, the individualist are argued that this overburden of state would lead to inefficiency. So that's why John Stuart Mill divided the self-regarding activities and other regarding activities. So state could only interfere in the other regarding activities. So also they emphasize that individualism could check and could curtail bureaucratic despotism. And as such, regarding the weaknesses, we found that from the very practical experience and working of state always assists the advancement of human mind in different form. And as Spencer argued about law of organic evolution, the very organic evolution theory of Spencer, and as he argued for survival of the fittest, is completely wrong, because the very growth of monopolies due to individualism could lead to exploitation of labor and the working class. It will create the miseries of the working class or the labor class. Then there would be exploitation of labor and concentration of wealth, and it would lead to create a gulf between haves and haves not. So also, due to the rise of individualism, they neglect the social causes. So, individualism, as developed by Mill, Spencer, Graham Walsh, and Norman Angel, they, in their theory, made the very neglect of social causes. So, the individualists suffer from the unconscious metaphor of atoms. So, as Spencer visualized in his law of organic evolution regarding individual as an atom in the society, and this is a kind of metaphor of Spencer, and it suffer from unconscious development made by Spencer as developing law of organic evolution and survival of the fittest. So in this lecture, we have discussed the very origin and development of individualism as it was first developed by the French Physiocrats with their theory of economic individualism or laissez-faire, and the very theory of laissez-faire was elaborately developed in the writings of Adam Smith, the English economist and philosopher, who borrowed certain Benthamite doctrine of utilitarianism, and subsequently John Stuart Mill and Herbert Spencer developed the traditional theory of individualism. And in modern period, it was Graham Wallace and Norman Angel who developed the modern theory of individualism. So also we have discussed the very strength of individualism as restricting and curtailing the state actions. So the very excessive state action could be controlled and checked and can be curtailed by individualism, growth of individualism. So also, as they were in favor of free competition, so it will lose the burden over state, as state, if it would be overburdened with activities, then it would lead to state inefficiency. So also, another important check of individualism, it could check and control bureaucratic despotism. So also we have discussed the very weaknesses of individualism, as always state as in welfare state assists the very advancement of human mind and the very theory of organic evolution. Why Herbert Spencer is wrong, and as we found due to individualism, large growth of monopolies and multinational corporations, and it would lead to concentration of wealth and exploitation of the working class or the workers or laborers, and it would lead to neglect of also social causes. So it suffers finally, individually suffers from the unconscious metaphor of atoms as developed by Herbert Spencer. in his doctrine of law of organic evolution and survival of the fittest. So we have completed this lecture on individualism.